This is my thoughts on Dragon Ball Z Rise of F. Rise of F, the animated film that has already been released in Japan and should be released in North American theaters, I think this summer. Hold on, I have it here. I can check. Um, yeah, I was right. It's definitely summer of this year. Um, Now on my Dougie798 channel, I did a rant on this film. I gave my thoughts on it, but I did a rant on this film because um I didn't like the plot. But after rewatching the trailers, and heard that it will be released in North American theaters, and they said North American theaters on Wikipedia, not select theaters like the last one, Battle of Gods, Battle of Gods. Um, I decided to do another video on this channel, giving a more positive thoughts on what I thought about the film, because while this film does suck, on its own, this film actually looks pretty good. It looks pretty exciting. It looks pretty exciting and entertaining. And even though I am biased, I'm a biased Dragon Ball Evolution Naruto guy, so I automatically hate anything Dragon Ball Z that's created by Toriyama. But on its own, this actually looks pretty good. Dragon Ball Evolution and Dragon Ball GT, Dragon Ball Evolution and Dragon Ball GT. Dragon Ball GT, I'm gonna start with Dragon Ball GT. Dragon Ball GT as a sequel to Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z is terrible. There's so many inconsistencies and differences with the plots. But if you watch Dragon Ball GT as an adaptation, it's pretty good. Not only is it good, it's awesome, and it's way better than Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Evolution, Dragon Ball Evolution, which is an adaptation of Dragon Ball, which is an adaptation of Dragon Ball with some stuff from Dragon Ball Z, on its own is actually good. And not only is it good, not only is it good and awesome, it's better than good and awesome. It's better than Dragon Ball. It's better than Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. And James Monsters was right. If you compare it to Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball GT, it's actually pretty damn good. If you compare it to Dragon Ball Z, you're going to be a little bit disappointed, even though after watching Dragon Ball over again and understanding that Dragon Ball Evolution is an adaptation of Dragon Ball and not Dragon Ball Z, I think Dragon Ball Z sucks. I think Dragon Ball Z sucks and is worse than Dragon Ball, the original Dragon Ball, and is not as good as Dragon Ball GT. Um, so on its own, and this right here, even though I would prefer this to be live action, this is what I've wanted. I wanted a feature-length Dragon Ball Z movie. I wanted it to be live action with all the Z fighters in the first one fighting Goku, fighting Vegeta and Nappa, fighting Raditz, Vegeta, and Nappa. Then if they ever made a part two or part three with all the Z fighters fighting Frieza. That's what I wanted, fighting Frieza and his men. That's what I wanted in a live action Dragon Ball Z film. Then all the stuff that came afterwards. This is what I wanted, except it's animated and it's tied to the original series. But this right here is what I wanted in a live action film. So that's why I'm actually gonna, despite this film already sucking, I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt to see how it fare on its own. Let me talk about why this film sucks already. The plot. Like I said, if this was an adaptation of Dragon Ball of Toriyama's Dragon Ball series, this will be good. But it's a sequel to Battle of Gods, which was terrible, and it's a sequel to the series. There's several inconsistencies already. The biggest plot hole already coming into the film is Frieza's army, the remnants of Frieza's army, looking for the Dragon Balls to resurrect Frieza. Already, I'm going to show you everything wrong with that. One, why is how does Frieza have any minions left? I thought King Cold in the Android Saga took what was left of Frieza's army and went all the way to Earth, and they got killed by Trunks, and Trunks completely ended the planet trade. So how can Frieza still have remnants of his army left over? Then, here's another thing. Most of the people who worked for Frieza were slaves. Who besides Captain Ginyu and I guess Zarbon, but who would go out their way to resurrect Frieza? This guy was a tyrant who controlled the galaxy, controlled the galaxy. The only reason people would serve him was to be on. They would rather be on the side of the demon than be in his path. They would rather be on Frieza's side than be in his path. So who, if he's dead, good. Who would go out their way to revive him? That's the second plot hole. That's the second. That's so already coming into the film. Those are the two plot holes right now, and the two problems I already have. So, as a sequel to Battle of Gods, and as a sequel to the Dragon Ball, Toriyama's Dragon Ball series, it's already terrible. But as a feature-length Dragon Ball Z film on its own, it actually looks pretty good. The animation is better. I like the new character designs. And the fighting and that Frieza song from Team 4 Star was also pretty awesome. So the film looks pretty awesome. I'm actually gonna give it a chance, and if it's bad, be prepared for me to tear it apart on my Dougie 798 channel. Alright, Super Vader out.